Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Christine Dixon of the Ordinary Sacred, and I'm excited to come to you from our house in Houston. We made it back. Some of my parts were really skeptical about it for a while. We had a wonderful time in Ecuador, but traveling is so difficult for my parts, many of my parts, and my physical system, being a highly sensitive person. And then on top of that, having a stomach flu, I had so many worried parts, and they're so grateful to have made it safely back. And we have seen all of our children in the last 3 days. So that's fun. And our next order of business is selling our house. But back in the familiar bedroom, I do have some clutter over here, some clothes, some souvenirs from Ecuador. I had a part that said, you really need to clean that off before you make the video. And I said, I'm a normal person. But on a side note, interestingly, I go back and forth. Am I on the autism spectrum? Am I an Enneagram 1 or a 4? But one thing I know for sure is that my whole life I have been a highly sensitive person. And my parts, what I love about IFS is our parts will tell us directly. We just have to ask them about their nature. And not all of my parts are highly sensitive, but many of them are. And they've explained that it's just an innate quality that they have. There are some aspects that are due to trauma and conditioning, but it's mainly just, they said this the way they are, and it's not a bad thing. Um, but one thing I've realized as being a highly sensitive person, my nervous system is affected by clutter and by when we got into our house, there were just dead bugs everywhere, and I had to clean them up before I could settle. And so it's really fascinating to just, and I'll go into more detail about this in another video, but just learning about myself and the parts of me who didn't allow me to be me, who exiled the sensitivity, the emotion, the needs, as they gradually unburden, I'm able to feel so empowered to say, this is my need. It doesn't need to be the same as everyone else's need. Because I had parts who would always shame me and say, you're so sensitive, you're so weak. Why can't you be like other people? You're such a burden, you're so terrible. And as I unburden them, it's just kind of oh, this is just who I am. And I can be individually me, and other people can be individually themselves and be different moment to moment and have needs and ask for them to be met and can be told no if there's a competing need from the other person. And it's just, it feels so much more clear. Um, and I'll tell you more about that in another video, because this video is actually, I've been wanting to do this. I went over several parts of Tamala Floyd's wonderful book, Listening When Parts Speak. But today I'm going to actually lead you through one of the meditations that she received from her ancestors. I absolutely love every single meditation that she received from her ancestors. They've been very powerful for me. And so I wanted to lead you through one that's actually towards the end of the book, because I feel like it's foundational. Um, and I'll explain that in a second. But before I do, just one order of business. Um, the free event for the Ordinary Sacred um, for this month and is at the end of the week. This Saturday, I believe it's November 30th. It's the Saturday after American Thanksgiving. This is usually what I do is on Thursdays, but I'm putting it on Saturday, and it will be from 1 to 2:30 Central Time, which you can adjust to your time zone. It's 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT in England. Anyway, you can adjust it, but what I want to do is actually I'm going to lead you through another ancestor meditation from Tamala Floyd that I found incredibly powerful, and then just open up a time for question and answer. And I will record it, but the recording will only be available to those who have the all access pass. So you're welcome to attend for free. And you can turn your camera on or off. You can just listen, or you can ask questions. But so I will put in the description, I will put the Zoom invitation so you can attend on Saturday. And again, the recording will be available to those who have the all access pass. And I'll put the link to get that if you want to do that as well. It's all the resources on my website. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to lead you through this beautiful meditation. It's towards the end of the book on page 190, but it's intended to help you access the qualities of self-energy. And the reason why I feel like this is an important one, actually, in my opinion, to start with, is because so many people have protective parts or even various kinds of burden parts that are front facing, that are blended with them, that are controlling their life. And they can sometimes say it's so hard to access self. Where is self? I don't have a self, sometimes people will say. And I'll tell them, I guarantee you, you do. And sometimes it's hard to help them connect to that self and experience glimpses of that self because it might not have been safe for them in the past. That's why the protectors have had to take on their roles, is to protect them from people or environments where it wasn't safe to be in self. So it makes sense. But the healing work comes in reconnecting to that self. So that's why I love this meditation, because it helps you gain some glimpses, some connection to the self. And like Dick Schwartz says, it's a virtuous cycle, that once there's even a mustard seed of self-energy, that can give loving attention to the parts that are active, and then they make a little more space and a little more space and a little more space until there's more and more and more self-energy, right? So I hope you enjoy this meditation. If at any point you need more time than I am giving, just go ahead and pause the video, take as much time as you need in any section, and you can write down what you're noticing if you want, or just go inside, maybe write it down afterward, whatever supports you. And I will begin the meditation. All right, this is called the labyrinth with the ancestors. And what's beautiful about these meditations is that sometimes when we don't feel like we have much access to our own self-energy, we can call on our ancestors, who always have access to their self-energy, in essence, to be a bridge to connect us to our own. So, as we start the meditation, I always want to invite you to look outside of you and just kind of notice what's around you. Notice your senses, what you see, maybe hear, smell, taste, feel. Feel your body in this space. And what you're doing is you're really checking to see if you are safe in your current environment. And I hope my clutter doesn't make you feel unsafe. You can close your eyes. But you might take a breath. If you do feel safe, extend your exhale, which tells your body that you're safe. And if you're not safe, please do whatever you need to do to support that. But if you are, I invite you to make that YOU turn and just to go inside for a moment. And you can close your eyes or have a soft gaze, whatever is most comfortable for you. And again, you might just notice your breath. You don't have to manipulate it, just notice where it goes in and out your body. You might feel the weight of your body on the chair. Maybe feel the earth under your feet. Feel gravity pulling on your shoulders, on your jaw. But just allow your body to relax a little. And as you sit in a relaxed position, I invite you to visualize or just imagine with other senses. Some people don't visualize. It might be auditory or just somatically or a knowing. But imagine yourself walking in a garden and take in the beauty with whatever senses you might have access to. You might feel the sun on your face, smell the fragrance in the air. And as you walk through this lush, beautiful garden, deeper within, you see a tall semicircle hedge of green. And as you get closer, you recognize an ancestor standing at the door-like opening in the hedge. Again, just let this come to you. You don't need to make anything up whatsoever. If you can, ask any parts that want to get it right or want to make anything up. If they'll just give you space, even if there's nothing, it's okay. You might see someone there. You might just feel their energy. Just receive it, allow it if you can. And this ancestor signals you to come with them. The ancestor says, I have come to guide you through this labyrinth to remind you of the special gifts that you carry within you. And they go on to explain, many people confuse a labyrinth with a maze. But unlike a maze, a labyrinth has no dead ends. You cannot get lost. It's not trying to trick you. A labyrinth always ends where it begins. So you just need to walk and follow the path and follow the ancestor. So the ancestor lets you know that the experience of walking a labyrinth can be very tranquil and says that they will accompany you throughout. So you join the ancestor, if it's okay with you, join the ancestor inside and begin walking the outermost circle of the labyrinth. And as you walk together, the ancestor says, the gifts you possess, or the gift you possess, is an inner wisdom consisting of 8 qualities. I will ask you to recall examples from your life of how these qualities are already within you. It doesn't have to be an extensive experience. It can be one moment from your life where you experienced one of these qualities. And as you're walking along the outer circle, the ancestor says the word compassion. And before your eyes, you see a movie, or perhaps you just feel the experience of a moment in which you had compassion. It might have been on a family member, a friend, an animal, a stranger, yourself. Again, no need to make this up. If you can, just let a moment come before you. Compassion. And like I said, if you need to take more time and pause at any of these, you're welcome to do that. So you continue to walk the second circle, and the ancestor says the word creativity. Creativity. And you see the novel ways that you have found solutions to problems, examples of your unique self-expression, your creative nature. So take a moment and just allow It could be flashes of just moment, this moment, that moment, where there was creativity in your life. And again, it's a receiving. You don't need to make it up. And the ancestor gently nudges you to continue walking this third circle and says, calm, calm. First, notice your body and your breathing. And then you might see images or sense memories in your life when you were calm, or maybe you brought calm to someone else. There may be many moments in your life where you did not feel calm, but we're just focusing for a moment on some of the moments when you did feel calm. You might have felt calm even in a stressful or challenging situation, or maybe it was a moment in nature. Just receive one or more of those moments. And when that is complete, the two of you will move through the fourth inner circle. You might slow your pace just a bit. And the ancestor says, courage, courage, and shows you how you've been courageous in small and maybe not so small ways, how you've stood up for yourself or others. Again, you can pause if you need to, just allow yourself to receive. And next, you walk the fifth inner circle. This is the circle of curiosity. The ancestor says, curiosity. And they show you times from your life when you engaged others with genuine interest in the triumphs and challenges of their life. And notice how your curiosity encouraged others to open up and share with you. It might be moments of curiosity about the world around you, or nature, or about yourself. Any moments of curiosity. Just let yourself receive that evidence. And as you walk deeper into the labyrinth, the ancestor says, confidence, confidence, and commences to show you examples of this quality from your childhood until now. Now the circles have gotten much shorter to walk. The ancestor says, clarity, clarity. And you visualize the people and the life situations when you knew exactly what to do or say without judgment. Let those moments come to you. And you and your ancestor arrive at the centermost part of the labyrinth where you find a bench. The ancestor invites you to sit with them, to watch how you have lived the final quality of connectedness. You see connections from the past and the ones you have now. And see if you can notice connections even with your ancestors. Again, pause if you need to. The ancestor tells you that it is not now time to travel back through the labyrinth, and adds that you will discover tokens or gifts representing each quality of self as you walk back to the beginning. The ancestor goes on to say, each gift reflects how your qualities show up, and they are yours to take with you. The ancestor hands you a container to collect your gifts. So just Again, receive what that container is. Take it with you. And the tokens that you are going to receive are unique to you and your experience. They don't need to be like anyone else's. While the self qualities are the same, their unique expressions are unique to each of us. So you're accompanied by the ancestor. You look around the inner space for your token of connectedness. Again, this is a receiving. You don't need to make anything up. Just whatever you receive as a representation of this quality of connectedness that you can put in your container. When you find it, you place it in the container. Again, with any of these, you can pause and take as much time as you need. And then you walk in the next circle and you find the clarity token. And before placing it in the container, acknowledge why you selected it. As you circle again, the gift representing confidence is discovered, and you take it with you in your container. You keep walking around, and you come across your curiosity keepsake. Take note of your selection before putting it away. Entering the next turn, you see the memento for courage. Hold it in your hand. Admire what it looks like before putting it in the container. The time it takes to walk each circle increases as the circle gets larger, and you locate and pick up the heirloom of calm. Again, take it in before you put it in the container. Next, you discover your gift for creativity. What represents your creativity? Put that in your container. And then you walk the outermost circle and you come upon the gift that represents compassion. So find that, acknowledge it, be with it, and put it in your container. And so now the two of you, you and your ancestor, have arrived back at the entrance of the labyrinth. You both take time to admire the collected gifts of self and their importance in your journey forward. The ancestor says, everyone has these qualities, these 8C qualities, but each person's expression of these gifts is unique, as I was saying earlier. The most important thing about these gifts is that you have always had them, and they are meant to be shared. So take the time that you need to end your time with the ancestor. Whatever you'd like to do. And know that you can meet with this ancestor whenever you please. And when you're ready, you can bring your awareness back to your breath and just breathe as you re-enter this moment, the current space you're in, and slowly open your eyes whenever you're ready. And if you haven't written down the tokens that you received yet, of course, you don't ever have to do anything, but you might do that. I know I find it very supportive. I'm actually going to share with you the tokens that I received. I won't share with you every memory that I received along the walk into the labyrinth, because that could take a really long time. But I will share with you the tokens because it kind of represents that. And whenever I share my experience, I always want to say it's not prescriptive. If your experience was completely different, that's wonderful. That's why I share my experience afterward, because I don't want to influence you to feel like, oh, it should look this way or that way. And it's always a receiving. You never know what you're going to get beforehand. There's no fabricating it or making it up. Sometimes when there are parts that want to do that, you can ask them to give you space, or thinking, figure it out parts, skeptical parts. Even if there's nothing, it's in the space of nothing that you eventually can receive. And then once those parts that try to make things up see that that happens, they allow more room for that. My system is very on board now. They're like, oh yeah, we can just relax back and we'll receive amazing things. And then we can come in and think about it and talk about it. So first of all, my container was this beautiful kind of like glass blown jar vase type thing. And it had the colors of kind of green, blue, purple, kind of mix of colors, and it was really beautiful. And as I walked back out the labyrinth, I was given or found these kind of like little charms. If you've seen like charm bracelets, and they were silver. They were all kind of metal, silver, small, but it was just like a representation, like set in stone, I want to say, image of the 8C qualities. It was so wonderful. And so I ended up later making in my mind's eye, that would be wonderful to make in real life, but like a charm bracelet that has them all around it. And I imagine that I'm wearing that I can go through and remind myself of these 8C qualities whenever I might want to connect to them. So the first one, the connection, was just, again, this silver charm of a hand over a hand. And it's just a beautiful representation of connection. And I'm actually, I realize now that I was going through them from memory in my notes, and so they're not in the order that we did them. But anyway, that's okay. So it was hand over hand connection. Compassion was like a little image, basically, of myself, of a woman with her hand on her heart and her hand on her head, like this, like I'm giving compassion to myself. And again, it was in silver, like this little charm. And calm was of, again, a woman like kind of laying in the grass with her knees up, but on her back, in the grass. And for me personally, I often experience, it's like, I think I've mentioned this in a video before, when I lay back on my bed, on the ground, it's like a signal to my body that we're resting. It's a moment of calm. So even if I'm really sick or I'm really distressed, if I lay back on my back, it's like my parts are like, oh, okay, this is a moment of calm. So it's kind of an image of that. Clarity was, again, a little silver charm of the sun coming out from behind the clouds. It's like it's foggy, I can't see, but now the sun's coming out and it's clear and I have clarity. Courage was an image, and this was the biggest moment of courage for me that it showed, was when I left my first marriage and the abuse there. And it felt, I remember constantly saying, it felt like walking off of a cliff into the darkness, into the unknown. So that's kind of the image, is of me or a woman on a cliff in the darkness, and she's about to step off. Confidence was a microphone, because the images it showed me of confidence were actually of me leading groups, speaking. That's taken so much for some of my parts that had such social anxiety, right? And to have the confidence to say, I have something to say and something that I want to share. Not that I ever actually have a physical microphone, but that was the image that I was given, was a microphone. So it was, again, a little silver microphone. Creativity. Okay. So for me, my like flow moments, other than teaching, are creating PowerPoints, which is basically me preparing what I'm going to teach. And I can just lose myself in hours creating PowerPoints and putting together things that I want to teach and share with other people. And so that's like the biggest well of creativity. that personally I have. So it was just like a silver computer, like I was sitting at the computer creating my PowerPoint. Um, and then finally, curiosity was of me basically in this position, like leaning on the table with my elbow on the table and my hand like this. Like I'm just, ooh, I'm leaning in, right? I'm so curious. And what's fascinating is every time I went through and I got these little silver charms, first they were very visual, but it was like compact, one image. I could touch them. Um, and like I said, it'd be wonderful to actually have these someday. But I can seriously imagine in times now where my parts are suffering, or they're saying, where's self? Do we have a self? I can imagine having this charm bracelet and going through and touching each one and remembering those moments. Yes, I do have a self. Yes, I have experienced all of these qualities. They do live in me. They are available. They're just covered over by the clouds right now. The sun will come out when my parts feel safe enough. And if I can even access a little bit of the curiosity or a little bit of connection toward my active parts, they can relax and make more and more room for all of these qualities to come out and be with them. And it's almost a reminder to them too. Like, see, we've had these qualities. Would you like them to come out and be with you right now? Maybe not. Maybe they have concerns. And the self will always respect that. But so that was a little bit of my experience. I wanted to share that one with you because it just feels like, again, such a life-giving experience of having the support of the ancestor, being able to walk this labyrinth, this beautiful representation of going inward and coming back out, receiving insight as you go in, and then taking the tokens as you go out, like Tamala said, to share with the world. That is my experience with IFS. I remember you've probably heard this story, many of you, many times. But my system initially, because of the religiously burdened parts, was so opposed to loving myself. And I've since understood that that is the foundation of all health and healthy choice, is genuine value of ourselves. And that's all I want for my kids. People say, what do you want my kids to be happy? I want them to value themselves because then I know they're going to make wise choices. But I want them to value themselves like I value them, right? Anyway, but at that time, I had so many parts that just blocked self-energy, blocked self-love. And I proposed this experiment of let's just pretend that we love ourselves for 1 week and see what happens. Because my parts were saying you're going to be hedonistic, selfish, you're going to be a murderer and a rapist. That's what they were taught. That was the burden, the conditioning that they had. And that is not what happened. And so I never looked back because what actually happened was that when I care for myself really well, that is when I can be the best version of myself for the people outside of me. I can fill up my cup and then give from overflow. Some people who have taken advantage of me, you know, giving from depletion, I guess, may not like that. People who don't ever want me to say no, or essentially who don't value me, people who don't value me, might not like that. But it ends up attracting the people who do value themselves and value me. They want me to value myself. They don't want me to give beyond my capacity or abdicate my needs or any of that, right? And so then I am able to show up for other people and reflect back their value, reflect back that I'm confident they have a self. And I absolutely am, even when I know it's hard for them. I understand it's hard for them to connect to it at times. But when I've met all my parts, with connection and compassion and curiosity and confidence and all of those things, and they feel secure with me, then I can show up in self for other people and can spread that and can share that glimpse of self energy with other people. And so when we go inside and we give that to ourselves, we do not become insulated. It's actually when we're blended with our parts that we're kind of like this. We're like always looking inward, always protecting here. But when those parts feel met and loved by ourselves, then we can expand and go out and truly see people and value them. We cannot love another person truly and fully until we love ourselves first. So that's why I felt like this meditation was so valuable, because it's so helpful to get the help from the ancestors. I've been calling on, especially when I'm really sick or there's our parts that come up that feel really, really distressed. I've been using this where it's like, oh, where's self? I'm going to call on my ancestor to help me. Or another thing that I do is I'll call on my future self. It's like I can't access my current self, but I'm going to call on my future self to come and be with me. And she is always so kind and compassionate. I mean, all the qualities of self, clear. I remember my husband, when I was really sick, I had parts that were saying, this is the last thing I'll say, um, that were feeling really burdened, like I'm a burden when I have needs. And my husband kept saying, it's a joy for me to take care of you. That you are not a burden to me. I want to help you, all of those things. And but again, these parts are so burdened around being a burden, and oh my gosh, the refrain of this part is always, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry that I'm sick, I'm so sorry I need help, I'm so sorry I can't do this and that. Anyway, so I was laying in the bed sick, and I had my future self come to the bedside, and she'll usually, hold my hand, rub my hair, and she's just there with me. I see you're suffering, I'm here with you. And I said, what do you want me to know? And she said, believe Brian, believe him. And so I told him later, and he was like, oh, thank God. It's like, oh, yes, she's right. She's right. Believe me. So she just always has like such clarity. It's so fascinating. My future self is not in the angst of that moment at all. And she has such a wide perspective, a calm about her. It's so comforting. So again, whether it's your future self or it's your ancestors, people you've loved and known who have passed, people you've never known, people who are not even your blood family, but who were uh, spiritual ancestors for you, right? Like Derek Scott, I've met with many times. There are friends who've passed that I've met with many times, and it's just so, it's like, yeah, just having the support of the multitudes like underneath you when you feel so depleted. It's such a powerful practice. So I encourage you to try this. Please leave comments if you did this exercise, how it went for you. If you have any questions or you ran into any issues with it, you can leave those in the comments. I'd love for you to come on Saturday. We're going to do another wonderful but different ancestor meditation where we go into a cave and the ancestors help us work with a part that's really difficult for us. And you can bring questions for Saturday, or if you have questions you want me to answer on Saturday and you're not able to attend live, you can put them in the comments below. Thank you for being here with me.